This video is kindly brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to create a beautiful online presence. Hi, my name's Janelle and welcome back to Rosery Apparel. In this video, I'm going to be sharing how to make this Damson Matter inspired blouse step by step. I have been seeing this blouse pop up on my Instagram over and over again, and every time I saw it, I just knew I had to have a go at making a version for myself. What I love about this blouse is that it has cute little puff bubble hem sleeves that are actually detachable, making this blouse super versatile because you can wear it with sleeves or you can remove them and wear it without sleeves. It is such a fun, quirky little design feature that I just really have fallen in love with. And yeah, I could not be happier with how this blouse turned out. So let's get into it and let me show you how to make it step by step. For this project, I'm going to be pattern hacking my Rosa sewing pattern, which you can find a link to down in the description below this video, and start by cutting out the bodice front and back template pieces and the sleeve template piece in your usual size. Then take the back template piece and fold the center back edge in by about 1 centimeter or around ½ an inch. Place the bodice front piece onto the bodice back so that the shoulder edges line up, and trace the front neckline shape onto the back template piece. We're going to be using just these two template pieces to make this blouse. Shorten the shoulder edge of the bodice back piece slightly by tracing from the shoulder notch to the underarm edge, being sure to keep the line work consistent with the original armhole edge. Now we need to shirr the fabric that will make up the main body of this blouse. So having a quick look at the original blouse, you can see that the main part of the blouse is shirred in this really cute spaced out pattern. And to do the same, you'll need to cut out 2 rectangles from your fabric that are twice as wide as your back template piece, or 4 times as wide, as the template will eventually be cut out on the fold of the fabric, by the length of the template plus around 15 to 20 centimeters or 6 to 8 inches extra. I've also gone a little bit extra again for my blouse because I will eventually be cutting along the decorative edge of my fabric. To create the spaced out shirred pattern, you'll need to mark out the following lines onto both rectangles of fabric using a water erasable pen or some tailor's chalk. Mark out the lines directly onto your entire length of fabric, leaving 15 to 20 centimeters or 6 to 8 inches at the bottom of your rectangle unshirred. Then, with some shirring elastic wound onto your bobbin, start stitching along the marked out lines. I've shared all about how to set up your sewing machine for shirring in a previous video, and I'll have that video linked below if you want to have a little refresher on how to do it. And as you shirr, the fabric will begin to gather up and become stretchy. Once you've shirred your rectangles of fabric, bring them over to your iron and use the iron to steam the shirring, as this will just shrink the shirring elastic ever so slightly more. Next, fold one of the shirred rectangles in half and stretch it slightly so that your back template piece fits onto it as well as possible. The bottom edge of the template should line up with the last row of the shirring. Then carefully cut the template piece out of the shirred fabric. I know this step seems a little bit daunting and risky, but I promise if you've shirred and steamed your fabric correctly, the shirring stitches will not come undone. Also, cut the back template piece on the fold of your non-shirred fabric for the lining. Next, trim the neckline of the template piece, which will turn this piece into the blouse front, and cut this template piece out of your second shirred rectangle. And also out of some of your non-shirred fabric for the lining. To make the ties for the detachable sleeves, start by cutting out 11 rectangles from your fabric that measure 70 centimeters or 27.5 inches by 3 centimeters or 1.25 inch. Then using a 12mm bias binding maker, press the rectangles so that the raw edges meet into the middle. You can definitely do this manually instead if you don't have a bias binding maker. Then fold and tuck the shorter edges in by about 1 centimeter or ½ an inch and press them in place. Then fold the rectangles in half once more so that the raw edges are all enclosed onto the inside, and then stitch all the folded edges in place. Repeat this process for all 11 rectangles. Now it's time to finally start sewing up this blouse. Start by placing the front shirred piece onto the back with the right sides together and stitch them along the shoulders like this. Do the same for the lining pieces. I actually ended up needing to change the lining slightly in the end for this blouse and skip to the following timestamp to see how to cut out the lining correctly. But the method is still exactly the same for what I'm showing here, so you just follow this process exactly. But yeah, you'll end up cutting out some facings instead of a lining. And yeah, just go to that timestamp. I explain it all there. Then with the right sides together, place the lining onto the shirred fabric and match up and pin the shoulder seams together. Next, pin the lining to the main shirred fabric along the neck opening, and to create the keyhole opening at the back, we're going to also be stitching a shape like this along the back. To do this, measure along the neck edge to find the center, then using a water erasable pen or some tailor's chalk, mark down from the center neck edge approximately 10 centimeters or 4 inches. Draw a slight curved shape like this so that you'll be able to continually stitch along the drawn out line without needing to stop. Then take one of the tie pieces we made earlier and fold it in half to find the center point. Place the center of the tie in between the lining and the shirred fabric, matching the center of the tie to the line we just marked out, and place it flat about 1 centimeter or half an inch away from the actual neck edge. Pin the tie in place and then stitch along the neck opening, making sure to also stitch along the 10 centimeter or 4 inch marked out line like this. As you stitch along the neck edge, also sew the center of the tie in place at the same time, making sure not to catch the rest of the tie in any of the seams as you sew. Once stitched, clip the curved edge carefully so as not to accidentally snip the stitches, and then also carefully snip down into the 10 centimeter or 4 inch marked out line, cutting the center of the tie as you snip. Once snipped, tuck the lining to the inside of the blouse and pull the ties gently to turn the fabric right side out. And you should now have a nice little keyhole opening at the back to ensure that your head will actually fit into the neck opening of the blouse. Before we get into the next step, let's just take a quick break to talk about the sponsor of this video. This video has been very kindly sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to create a beautiful online presence and launch your passion project. Whether you'd like to start making and selling your own products, create a beautiful portfolio to showcase your work, write a blog, or simply create any website of any kind, you can design, build, and run your dream website all by yourself thanks to Squarespace. Squarespace make creating a website easy, as you can just simply select from their range of gorgeous templates, and trust me when I tell you, each template is just as beautiful as the next. And then once you've chosen a template, you can then change it up as much or as little as you like. You can change everything from the overall layout of the website to all the fun things like the fonts and colors with just a few clicks, no knowledge or background needed in coding whatsoever. And now thanks to their new AI integrated design system called Design Intelligence, you can just answer a few design prompts and a few questions about your business, and Squarespace will build you a customized website from the ground up that has everything you need to run your business successfully. Hands down, my favorite thing about Squarespace is the fact that it is honestly just so easy to use. I am not tech savvy whatsoever, but I ended up being able to create my website in literally just one afternoon. It was that simple. And I have personally been using Squarespace for nearly 10 years to run the Rosery Apparel website and online store. And in that time, I have never had any issues with my site. It has always been running smoothly. So if you'd like to create a website of your own, then I totally recommend you go and check out Squarespace using the link in the description below this video and take advantage of their free trial so you can test out just how easy it is to use for yourself. And then when you're ready to launch your beautiful new website, head to squarespace.com/roseryapparel for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you so much Squarespace for sponsoring this video and for being such an incredible supporter of my channel. Next, we're going to be using the burrito method to sew the armholes. Start by tying up the back opening tie to make sure it won't get in the way for the next few steps, and then roll up the blouse semi-tightly from one armhole side to the other. When you get to the other armhole, flip the blouse around so that the right sides of the fabric are facing and the rest of the blouse is tucked into the inside like a burrito. Then pin the lining to the shirred fabric along the armhole edge, matching the shoulder seams together, and then stitch them together like this. Once stitched, carefully clip the curved edges, as this will help them to turn out and sit flat a lot easier, and then pull the remaining blouse up through the channel we've just stitched to turn it right side out. Then repeat this for the other side so that you have two nicely enclosed armholes. Next, flip the blouse so that the right sides of the lining pieces and the shirred fabric pieces are facing each other, and then sew the sides of the blouse together like this. Then tuck the lining to the inside of the blouse and your armholes are now fully lined and complete. Top stitch along the neck and armhole edges to keep the lining in place. It was at this moment I realised I had made a bit of a mistake, as the lining wasn't able to stretch with the shirred fabric, so therefore it was not possible to actually put this blouse on. But luckily there was a super easy fix. I just needed to trim the lining slightly to make a facing instead of a lining. So here is how to create the facing template piece, and this is what you will cut out instead of the lining, like I showed at the start of the video. Take the back template piece that we pattern hacked earlier and trace from approximately 5 centimeters or 2 inches along the side edge to create the following facing shape. Cut this template piece on the fold for the back and do the same for the front, being sure to trim along the traced out front neck edge for the facing as well, so that it matches the blouse front. To finish the bottom edge of the facing, simply hem it like you would normally, or you can overlock or zigzag stitch along the raw edge. Now that the facing is in place, the blouse can stretch again and it is easily able to be taken on and off. Next, take the remaining 10 ties that we made earlier and pin the center of the ties along the armhole edge approximately 10 centimeters or 4 inches apart, 5 on each side. Then stitch the ties in place, back stitching them so that they are secure, and also line up the stitching with the top stitching that we sewed earlier. At this stage you can either skip the sleeves entirely and just tie up the ties and wear the blouse as it is, but if you would like to have sleeves, here is how to make the cute detachable bubble hem sleeves. Start by cutting a pair of the Rosery sleeves from your lining fabric, then cut the template in half and widen it by 30 centimeters or 12 inches. Cut a pair of this new template from your main fabric. Next, cut a rectangle from your fabric that measures 50 centimeters or 20 inches by 3 centimeters or 1¼ inch. Fold the raw edges to the center like we did for the 11 other ties earlier, but this time you can skip folding the shorter ends. Stitch the folded edges in place. From this freshly stitched rectangle, cut out 10 5cm or 2 inch pieces. Next, take your main sleeves and stitch 2 rows of gathering stitches along the bottom edge and in between the notches like this. Then gently gather up the bottom edge so that it's the same width as the bottom edge of the sleeve lining. With the right sides of the fabric facing, place the gathered sleeve onto the lining and stitch them together along the bottom edge like this. Once stitched, remove the exposed gathering stitches. Understitch the seam to the lining to keep it in place. Next, gather up the top gathering stitches until the sleeve is the same width as the lining. Then with the right sides together, fold the sleeve in half and stitch the sides together like this. Then press the raw top edges of both the main sleeve and the lining sleeve in by about 1 centimeter or half an inch. And then tuck the lining to the inside of the sleeve. Next, using the blouse ties as a guide, fold the loop pieces in half and sandwich them in between the sleeve and the sleeve lining at these folded edges. Make sure that the raw edges of the loops are on the inside of the sleeve. I found using sewing clips instead of pins for this part was a lot easier for keeping the loops in place. Sew the lining to the main sleeve, stitching the loops in place as you sew. And your adorable bubble hem sleeve is complete. Repeat these steps for the second sleeve, and once done, thread the blouse ties into the sleeve loops to attach the sleeves to the blouse. Lastly, all that's left for you to do is just to hem the bottom edge of your blouse, but instead for my blouse, I'm just snipping away the fabric to leave that decorative scalloped edge exposed. And your adorable Damson Matter inspired blouse is complete. So, how does it look? So I hope you enjoyed this video and that you're now inspired to have a go at making this Damson Matter inspired blouse for yourself. This blouse was honestly so much fun to make, and it's even more fun to wear. I absolutely love it, and it's such a unique piece in my wardrobe. I just could not be happier with how it turned out. If you do have a go at making this blouse, then I of course would love to see it, so be sure to tag me at Rosery Apparel when you share your photos on your socials. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, it would really mean a lot to me if you could give it a like, and be sure to subscribe to my channel for more sewing type videos just like this one. Thank you so much for watching this video until the very end, and I'll see you in the next one.